What's up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's get a little spicy. So, y'all know, or if you don't know, whenever you watch my reviews, I normally have a spicy corner before we get into the review. And spicy corners normally consist of things that I find all across the internet and that piques my interest. Well, I got a lot of things to talk about as it pertains to Real Housewives of Orange County, and we need to get into it. So let's get into it, okay? All right, y'all. So, first up, let's get into a little bit of announcements, okay? So, this was posted by TV Deeds on August the 21st, but it says that Orange County will only consist of 17 episodes plus the reunion. So, that lets you know that by episode, 14, the show will be on its finale. And I wonder if that's because they didn't really have anything to talk about other than, Katie and the lies. And so production was like, let's cut it short. Because I remember that started to happen on Real Housewives of New Jersey, even before it got put on pause, that their seasons were like only 18 episodes plus the reunion, and it would always be a three-part reunion, or it would be like 17 episodes like Real Housewives of Orange County. Honestly, I'm still enjoying the season, so I'm not really that bothered by it being cut short. I rather you cut the season than draw it out like it used to be, where we would get like 27 episodes, 26 episodes, and there was nothing really going on. So I'm okay with that. So, the next announcement is the after show. So, if you are somebody that enjoys watching the after show, Real Housewives of Orange County just premiered their first episode on YouTube. And these are how the groups are set up. So, you got Heather and Shannon together, Katie is sitting by herself. Emily, Tamra, and Gina are together, and then Gretchen and Jen are a pair. What's interesting to me about this, and it's three things. One, it's obvious Katie is not in a good place still with the group, that they had to sit her by herself. I would have thought by now, when they started to film the after show, she might have been in a decent place with the women, but I guess nobody really wanted to film with her. I feel like Heather would have filmed with her. It would have been hella awkward, but it doesn't seem, based off of the interviews I've seen Heather do, that she has any real animosity towards Katie. And what's crazy is Katie being on the outs with Jen and Gretchen really messed up the seating, because you can definitely tell that they were probably going to make Katie, Jen, and Gretchen be the thruple. And then Tamra and Heather would have been a group of two, and then Shannon would have been sitting by herself. But the fact that Katie isn't really cool with, her two girls, and we also know that Emily and Gina don't really see it for her, and Shannon definitely wasn't going to film with her, she had to sit by herself. And I was just like, dang, girl, Katie, you really messed up the seating chart. Although I think she looks really great sitting by herself. Like, this dress and the hair and makeup, she looks very pretty. I also like what Heather has on. Something about Heather in red looks really nice. And I actually like what Emily has on. Girl, why was this not one of your confessional looks? She actually looks really pretty. But what was kind of interesting to me, and this is like my third thing, is Tamra is sitting with Gina and Emily. And I feel like, and this just might be, my conspiracy theory housewives brain, but something about her sitting with Emily and Gina, and she's not sitting with Shannon and Heather. And even though I know Shannon and Tamra are not in the great place, I feel like Shannon wants to be cordial with Tamra, but she does not want a friendship with her, which I think is okay. But I feel like they could have filmed the after show and things relatively would have been like all right. It probably would have been as awkward, not as awkward as Katie and Heather, but it still would have been awkward. But I feel like them separating Shannon and Heather together, and then last season they did the Deadpool and like Wolverine commercial together. I it makes me feel like production is like, these are our veterans. These are the two we care about being on this show. These are the two we know that we could probably like get rid of the cast and still feed in new faces, and the show would be still relatively well received. Because I do think that sometimes reboots don't work when people don't have familiar faces, but I could see them rebooting this show and keeping Jen, Shannon, and Heather, and then adding in 4 new girls, and people still being interested in this show. And I think them sitting Gina, Emily, and Tamra together, I feel as though that they were punishing Tamra to basically show her, like, girl, the way you behaved in New Orleans and then quitting and the antics online, sit with these two, okay? But also, I think they want to send a message to her to let her know, like, girl, you're not as valuable as you think. Now, mind you, I do think Tamra is valuable to OC because they left New Orleans early, if you ask me. They didn't have any other content, which is kind of wild to me because granted, I've never been to New Orleans, but I've had friends go, and I also have friends that have family down there. And it seems like they always have something to do down there. So I just think it's kind of like crazy that all they had to do was talk about Tamara. So to me, she is valuable, but I don't think she realizes she's not as valuable as she thinks. But that's just me. And like I said, my conspiracy theory housewives brain, making thoughts like I know what I'm doing, like I'm a producer. So let's talk about Tamra next, all right? So this was reported by TV Deeds, and they got this from OK Magazine. If I can find the article, I'll definitely link it in the description box below. But I'm just going to read what they posted. It says this: insider on why Tamra Judge temporarily quit, hashtag RHOC. It says Tamra was going through such a tough time with Teddy Mellencamp being sick, and the women were absolutely brutal to her. In what world would you see someone so clearly suffering emotionally and decide that that's the time to pile onto them? It makes no sense, an insider tells OK Magazine. It totally makes sense why she picked up and took a beat and left. Anyone in her situation would have done the same. When life is tough, you look to your friends to support you and build you up and help you, not bring you down. And unfortunately, no one at the table was doing anything but making her situation tougher. This statement is full of crap. That's low-key why Tamra's a good villain, because she is delusional, like peak delusional. The thing about it is like, yes, Tamra is going through a lot. And I've been saying that on every review. I don't think that Tamra is lying about her feelings. I don't think she's lying about being scared and being anxious. And as someone who deals with anxiety, I totally get where she's coming from, especially when you have that part of your brain that just will not turn off and you're constantly thinking about the negative over and over and over. You work yourself up. The issue is Tamra has kicked a lot of people when they were down. And so it is incredibly hard for people to give Tamra compassion or sympathy or empathy, because there's a lot of people that have experienced what she's gone through. Because cancer, I feel like, has touched almost everybody's life in some way. Maybe not an immediate family, but I think almost everybody knows at least one person that has dealt with cancer. So I think people can sympathize with her, but I think the issue is like I said, people have seen Tamra drag people when they were at their lowest or poke fun when they were at their lowest. Last season, girl, you were on Shannon's neck. Then the situation with Jen, with the FBI had, then that actually ultimately affected her real life, even though reality TV is real life, but I'm talking about like beyond the show. And then she had to go to court, and we know Jen ain't got no money. Then people have brought it all the way back to when Vicky had her situation, when her mom died. And then instead of everyone really rallying behind her, the next season, everybody was on her neck because they felt as though she knew that Brooks was lying about having cancer. There was no compassion. There was no sympathy. It was just everyone coming after her after she had explained to them how hard she was dealing with the loss of a parent. specifically her mother. So it's like, it's hard, girl. It is hard. Like, I think the only people who really have a lot of compassion for Tamra and really feel like the women are doing her dirty are people that genuinely like Tamra, that are fans of Tamra Judge. But if you look at the fandom of Real Housewives of Orange County, girl, you're a necessary evil, in my opinion, because I do think every show needs somebody who is going to be a villain. But when you take on the villainous role, girl, you have to know what comes with that. And oftentimes that means when you're actually going through something, nobody gives a damn because they how nasty you have been to other people. So continuing with Tamra, let's get into a few tweets, okay? So this was posted on the night of the episode, and this person by the name of Chadwick said, Gretchen told Tamra on camera she went to the hospital the day after Naked Wasted, but then said she didn't in her confessional. I'm convinced Gretchen 100% said it. Hashtag RHOC. So Tamra quote tweeted this person by saying she actually told me twice on camera that she went to the hospital, once in the car and once outside at the park. Hashtag RHOC. I mean, Tamra has a point because Gretchen did get caught twice, and they showed it on the episode of her saying that she didn't go to the hospital, and then she switched it up and said, yes, I did go to the hospital. So I do understand a lot of people saying, girl, what is it? Did you go to the hospital or you didn't? So this was a quote tweet of Tamra by name of Mario Kiki. Said Tamra quitting filming for a full 7 days. The women couldn't film a whole episode in NOLA without her. Tamra already in a scene. If any of the other housewives quit, would we have even noticed? Tamra's contribution to the OC is unmatched. Hashtag RHOC. And like I said earlier on in the video, I do think it's kind of telling that they, to me, felt like they left New Orleans early because they didn't really have anything to talk about other than the Katie situation, and there wasn't Tamra there to stir the pot. To me, again, Tamra is a necessary evil because she keeps the story going. And I will say, like a lot of people said on Twitter, when Tamra wasn't on OC, even though I enjoyed it to a certain extent without her, people were saying how boring OC was and how it didn't have the flavor that it used to. And now that she's back on, the ratings have kind of steadily gone up. So you could hate Tamra, but she keeping people invested. I think people forget the value of hate watching for some people, to just see the person they don't like and just rag on them. So the next one is a retweet from Tamra where she retweeted Queens of Bravo, and they said this: the way Gretchen, Katie, and Jennifer are trying to pass the blame to one another on who the bigger liar is beyond cringe. The only thing that matters is Tamra Judge is completely vindicated. Hashtag RHOC. Now, I'm going to expound upon this further in my review, but I would have to agree with Queens of Bravo. It definitely felt like by the end of the episode that Katie, Gretchen, and Jen were lying. And I was so surprised how quickly their alliance fell apart, because to me, the episode before last that premiered this week, they came into that dinner before Tamra, ran off and stuff as a united front. And for them to fall apart with just a little bit of confrontation with Emily and Gina, I was just like, dang, did y'all really not talk about how y'all were going to maneuver this situation? Or did they actually feel like Tamra was lying, but then when more probing happened, did Gretchen start to feel like, oh, dang, maybe Katie did run to Kiki Monique and tell her this information? So Tamra retweeted the Mario Kiki guy another time where he said, did anyone catch Jen's lie? Last week she said she never heard of Naked Wasted. This week she claimed when Gretchen told her about Naked Wasted, she said she should have went to the hospital. Which is it, Jen and Gretchen? Get your lies together next time. Now this one I kind of am looking at differently, mainly because if I remember correctly, Jen said she doesn't even really totally understand everything about Naked Wasted, but it's clear that they had a conversation about it and that Jen wasn't telling the complete truth, but she did not say she never heard about Naked Wasted. If I'm remembering the episode correctly, I feel like Jen said, like, I don't totally know what went on with that situation. But Tamara retweeted this. Okay. And then the last tweet I want to get into is Queens of Bravo talking about Miss Shannon. They were basically calling her a hypocrite for her shading Tamra because Shannon brought up when Tamra was in Bali, it was the cash trip, and she ran away from the table. When I tell you that's one of the funniest scenes to me in like housewife history, because it was she ran. Like it wasn't even like a brisk walk. Like she took off, and I know for a fact that the staff and I know production was talking about her because I was floored when I remember seeing that episode. I was like, oh my God, why is she running into people's resort like that? But let's get into this tweet. They say, Shannon, in Bali, Tamra said, you'll never see me again. And we saw her right after. So then Queens of Bravo goes on to say, Shannon throwing shade at Tamra for walking off when she's made a career of saying she's done and storming out of scene. Please be serious. Hashtag RHOC. They have a point, but we've never seen Shannon fake quit before. So I'm okay with the shade. So I thought I was going to be done with Tamra's segment, and I just wanted to talk about this clip that I saw on Twitter, but I just went on Instagram and saw this new clip of Tamra that I want to get into, okay? So this was a repost by Page 6. Tamra was doing an interview with the page Give Them Lala, so I guess Lala from Vanderpump's Rules. I don't watch her podcast, but it says this: RHOC star Tamra Judge reveals she is most hurt by fellow castmates Gina Schneider and Emily Simpson after this season. So let me play that clip for you guys.
I'm really hurt by Gina and Emily because I truly thought that they were my friends. And to hear them say the things they've said, knowing what I'm going through at that time. Emily had even said to me, geez, if this was happening to my best friend, Gina, I don't know how I would be able to film this show. But knowing that and still coming from me and saying things, and to me, it's just hurtful. And it makes me think like they really don't care about me, or they're really more interested in making good TV.
So what do y'all think about this? Do you think Tamra has a legitimate reason to be upset with Emily and Gina? I feel like no, but I can also see why she would somewhat be upset, okay? For me, I say no because we're only 7 episodes into the season, and I'm thinking about the things that Emily and Gina have said in their confessionals, and nothing they have said has been horrible to me. It has been they've been critical of Tamra's behavior, but they haven't been outright like nasty towards her. They've actually been trying to like advocate and defend her, especially Emily. Now Gina, not so much. So I'm surprised that she's like lumping Gina and Emily like together. Okay. I will say, I do think that Tamra has a slight reason to be frustrated with them if she's telling the truth, that they came up to her being like, oh, I could never do this if my friend was sick. Like, don't get in my face and try to act like you sympathize with me and you understand, or you are saying that you could never do what I am doing and you commend me, but all the while you're kind of like being critical of how I'm showing up. So I can understand her being upset, but I'm just like, to be hurt, I feel like Tamra's being dramatic and putting 20 on 10. So the last thing we're going to talk to as it pertains to Tamra is this 23-second clip that I saw online. Now, it was her sitting down with Bryce Sanders on Entertainment Tonight, and he brought up this interaction that we'll see later on in the season with Heather and Gretchen. And Tamra's response was very interesting to me because it was pretty much, to me, alluding to Gretchen doing something offensive, because she said something to the effect of like, that's a big no, or that's a big stop for me, and I hope it's the same for Heather. So let me play the clip for you guys.
We do see in the trailer, she has this really emotional moment where she's like crying at Heather.
Mm-hmm. Make it make sense. Why?
How do we land there for the two of them especially?
I would like to think that that's a deal breaker for Heather. And it's definitely a deal breaker for me.
The content of
what we're talking about is a big fat no for me. And I'm not fat shaming anybody. I'm just saying a big fat no.
So I wonder what Tamra is alluding to, because honestly, when I saw that clip and I saw that part in the trailer. I thought all of that went down in New Orleans because you see Heather in the bus or the Sprinter, and then Gina is sitting next to her. So I just assumed that we were going to see this episode, or this current episode that came out, episode 7 of this week. So the fact that we didn't see it, I wonder what Gretchen is upset about, and I wonder what Tamra is trying to insinuate. Like, did Gretchen do something offensive and she was exposed for it? Like, or was there another lie out there and she got upset because she felt like Heather wasn't taking her side? I don't know. But I am curious to see this part of the season, because the fact that Tamra is like, it's a big no for me, girl, why? Like, why is it a big no for you? Okay. So the last thing we're going to talk about is Miss Katie, okay? Because, girl, Miss Katie Gates, okay? So the first thing I want to play for you is this clip from Katie's alleged publicist, and he's saying that he used to be her friend as well. His name is Amir. Yes, he pretty much says that Katie is the liar that the women are calling her on the show. Now, the clip is about 3 minutes long. I'm probably going to speed it up, but let's get into that.
Second. Oh, yeah. There's some tea I'm gonna spill.
Really? Do you want to do it now?
Yeah, I'll do it now. Okay. So
Twist my arm.
it didn't take me that long to finally go there. Okay, so I'll make it short. But basically, she wanted me to help her with PR. Mind you, this woman, and I've worked with a lot of A-list celebrities, so I understand delusion to some extent. But I also had a big team. Girl, it's just me. She's like, I want to be on Good Morning America as a co-host. Let's aim lower. You were on the Golf Channel. Like, we gotta aim lower. We had a genuine friendship. Like, we went to dinner. I met her, Gretchen was there. She wanted to get this new girl, Noreen, on, who didn't end up getting it. It was a friend of whatever. So I met all of her friends. I met the lawyer for Johnny Depp, the Johnny Depp trial. She was there. She's like apparently friends with her. Her and Katie are friends. Anyway, a good table. We had a good time, whatever, in Orange County. We become friends. We go to lunch. I'm helping her with PR, et cetera, et cetera. And then literally fucked me over. She calls me on a random day. She's about to sign the contract, and she calls me. She's like, Alex Baskin said I can't be seen with you because I'm feeding you information, obviously, which is the narrative of this.
That's like the
season.
whole scenario of the season.
But then she proceeds to, like, I'd gotten her Fashion Week front row. She's like, oh, can I just still go? I'm like, no, bitch. Like, you go with me. Like, in what world?
You can't just go by yourself.
You can't just go by yourself. And then she, like, pretended to not know me and did not. And I'm like, girl, you told me crazy stuff. Like, she told me about how her and her daughter would talk about when her daughter would get an STD. She was yelling drunk. She was cussing. She is not the Katie on TV. Like, she wanted to expose Heather and Terry's marriage. She's like, I have DMs from gay guys saying they sucked him off for plastic surgery. I was like, girl, don't say any of this. I don't know if she's going to bring it up later, but I was like, don't go off a couple DMs.
So do you think
she's crazy?
Because what I get from, well, she's on the right show, you know?
She's on the right show, but I'm like, you're going to look crazy going for an institution like their marriage. It's not going to work.
Well, and do you think that the women have like a valid point with, they're all just like, we don't, like, because Gina's like, I don't know whether.
She calls me on a random day.
Not to believe you, and Katie's like, I would never do that. Do you think that Katie, because what was the accusation that they said at the dinner that they were like, that she had that conversation with Kiki Monique. You think that was real?
Yeah, Kiki does not lie. I know Kiki, like, I've met her many times. She's not a liar. So if Kiki's saying it, I trust Kiki over Katie. Katie's lied about me. Like, and then she said that Gina said she smelled like kimchi. And that she said it on Watch Robin's Live and they edited it out. And then she made me edit an episode when I talked about it. Girl, I don't owe you anything. So I'm going to say it. Like, maybe Gina said that. I don't know. Like, this is allegedly. Don't come for me, Gina.
Oh, no, it's all allegedly.
It's all allegedly. But this is all coming from Katie. So I think she went on this show. She was like, I'm the perfect housewife. I have all this tea. I'm going to do research, attack them. And it's like, yeah, I get it. A lot of people like her, and I don't fault them. But she's kind of lying. She's saying, I don't know these bloggers. Like, Bravo, babe, I know her. Kiki, I know. Why would these people lie? They're not getting money. Like, Kiki's not going to get, you don't get money for being on the show, to be featured on the show.
Not to believe you. Right.
So I don't know. I'm like, again, Katie's entertaining to watch, but you're lying to everyone.
I know. Well, that's the thing. It's like you don't know what's what anymore.
Right.
Because she's always lying, and then she's always telling the truth.
Right.
And from what I've met of her, from what I've known of her, she's very, very nice and very sweet to me. But then I'm like, I don't really like hang out or whatever.
She was sweet to me until I think I had no like use to her, and I think that's very housewife. So I kind of get it.
Don't I know it?
I get
have
it.
Nothing to do with you anymore.
I get it. Bye.
Yep.
And she did it, and she does her job really well.
Yeah.
Like when she's on the show, it's like you want to watch her. It's engaging. Like I get it. So whatever. Like her saying, I don't have service. I don't know what to do. Did I call her?
Oh man, that was so uncomfortable.
If you're gonna lie, be a good liar.
I can't. My phone, my Wi-Fi's out. They're like, well, you don't have it. Right.
So I don't know.
So here's my 2 cents, because when I saw this clip making its rounds on Instagram and TikTok, it was really interesting to see how everybody was reacting to it. Overall, it got a pretty negative response where a lot of people felt like he was clout chasing or that he was being thirsty. Some people were screaming how unprofessional he was. Some people were advocating for Katie to sue him, bringing up her daughter Kylie and about the STDs and things of that nature, and about Katie being drunk. Some people were more angry about him bringing up Terry and Heather and saying that, you know, gay men proposition Terry for plastic surgery and all of that stuff after, you know, they have a sexual experience. I was in the middle because on one hand, I do think what he did was unprofessional, because I'm like, you could have expressed your experience with Katie even if you truly felt like she was a liar without adding all of this. It definitely felt like he wanted this to be out there to paint her in a bad light. But then on the other hand, I'm also like, well, if this is truly his experience with her, then why are we chastising him? I think the bad thing about it is he did this under the guise of like, oh, we were friends and I was a publicist. And I would think about you being a publicist, you would be way better with PR and your own image than exposing this information this way. Because there was definitely a way that he could have talked about this. Because if I was him, I would have just been like, Katie is a liar. I used to be friends with her. We've had several dealings and she lies. She blatantly lies. There's several situations that I was in with her. She even lied on me. So I do believe the women, and I believe Kiki Monique because I've known her for years and she's never lied. Now, there are things I would like to share, but they're too salacious and we don't need to go down that road. But you could definitely tell he wanted the things that he was saying to be out there about her. So continuing on with Katie, I wanted to get into this tweet with Gibson Johns. And the only reason why I wanted to talk about this is because the Bravo babe responded to it and I thought her comment was interesting. So it says this: the way everyone in the RHOC blogger situation except for Tamra was caught in a lie on this week's episode, what are we doing here? So then the Bravo babe responded by saying she should be over soon because Katie is sending bloggers cease and desist. And then Gibson responded by saying, oh. So this information makes me feel like, Katie, girl, you messed up and you have been lying a lot. And it's starting to feel as though you're sending these cease and desist out because you know these people have information on you. Because the Bravo babe dropped credible receipts about you lying about contacting her. And Kiki Monique is like, girl, I got the screenshots to prove our conversation. And I am not an avid follower of the Bravo babe or Kiki Monique, but I've seen Kiki Monique in the Bravo sphere for a really long time. And I've never heard anybody call that lady a liar. And to me, it is feeling as though, girl, you're scared that they are going to drop information on you, because I'm wondering who else is she sending these cease and desist to? Like, what other bloggers were you in communication with? And honestly, how do you send people cease and desist if they actually have evidence on you that what they're saying about you is true? Like, you can't sue them if what they have on you is true. So it's starting to feel like, girl, you're scared because more information might come out about you. So to wrap this video up, the last thing we're going to talk about is Gretchen and Slade sitting down with Heather McDonald and talking about her issues and the drama with Katie. So let me play that clip for you guys.
So then all of a sudden I'm watching this episode and she's like, I'm no longer protecting Gretchen. I'm telling the truth. Gretchen and Slade have been out spinning this story to everybody. And I'm like, protecting me from what? Your lies? Because I have not gone out and told anybody this. And the point is that had I told anybody the story, it would have already been out. Somebody would have put it out forever ago. And if I actually thought that, I would have been the first person to put it out. You know what I mean? Because this was 17 years ago.
Right. If we're going to follow with what Tamra says her beef is with you.
So then all of a sudden I'm watching this episode and she's like, I'm no longer protecting Gretchen. I'm telling the truth. Gretchen and Slade have been out spinning this story to everybody. And I'm like, protecting me from what? Your lies? Because I have not gone out and told anybody this. And the point is that had I told anybody the story, it would have already been out. somebody would have put it out forever ago. And if I actually thought that, I would have been the first person to put it out. You know what I mean? Because this was 17 years ago.
Right. If we're going to follow with what Tamra says her beef is with you, is where she says, you've talked about me for years.
Right.
Then why wouldn't you? You're right. Why wouldn't you have brought up this, which there's video evidence of pretty bad behavior, not illegal, but, trying to get your friend pretty drunk on camera.
By the way, I'm not trying to protect Tamra from anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, why when Katie says, I'm no longer defending Gretchen and Slade or protecting them anymore. I'm like, protecting us from what? Your lies? So then Katie and now Matt are doubling down. And
Katie's
now
husband,
Matt, Katie's husband, is claiming that Slade called him in New Orleans and said, protect Gretchen, hold the line. And I'm like, what are they talking about? And you should tell that story because you're the one that called Matt.
I'm pretty disappointed in Matt, obviously, because I did call him. We had just had a conversation about you shouldn't be going and speaking to bloggers or media. Like it's not a good look. Obviously, it's against your contracts. You shouldn't be doing it. We just had that talk. So when I get the phone call from her that I'm being told that Katie has done this, I called Matt. I go, Matt, like not cool. Like, is your wife actually out there doing this? We just had this talk. I swear she didn't do it. She did not say that to Kiki. And I said, well, I don't want to hear a month from now that she actually did it because that's been her track record where she denies. And then all of a sudden she flips and there's an admission. And that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah.
Is that she now is changing her story after denying it on camera.
So before I give my thoughts, I just want to read this post by Bravo Snarkside and shouts out to them because I really do appreciate when they take scenes and, they put the subtitles on there and they give a good caption. So they detailed the scene where Katie was talking to Matt at the end of this week's episode where she says this: did you hear Slade talk about this naked wasted stuff? Matt says, I can say this, you didn't make it up. So then Katie says in her confessional, Gretchen had the opportunity to tell the truth and for the truth to come out that she was sure Tamra drugged her that night of naked wasted. So then Bravo Snarkside said this: wait, but you said you didn't tell Kiki this, but now you're saying it's true. So then how did Kiki know if you didn't tell her? I think that's a valid question. And that's the problem with Katie. She be lying and she's so sloppy with it. And she constantly keeps getting caught up. And it's like, Katie, if we're gonna lie, please be good at it or at least know how to defend yourself, because the constant lying and then immediately apologizing a couple of seconds afterwards is frustrating. And honestly, I'm going to expound upon this more in my review, so please be on the lookout for that. But I believe all three of the women are lying. I think Katie's lying, Jen is lying, and definitely Gretchen is lying. Okay? But it's just Katie. Katie reminds me of a boyfriend. And this is just it popped into my mind. So roll with me. Let me cook a little bit. She reminds me of when a boyfriend gets caught cheating and you're telling them, just give me all the information. And you're like, you're not going to be mad. You just want to hear everything so you can make a decision on whether or not you're going to leave or not. And they tell you enough information that you're upset about it, but you forgive them because, it didn't sound that bad. And then a month goes by and then you get way more information and it pisses you off even further because you gave them the opportunity to be honest and they lied to your face once again. And I feel like that's what's happening with the cast, is that they're giving Katie these opportunities to just tell us everything, put everything out on the table. And if Katie was smart and really knew this housewife game, she would have had a sit down with all of the women, especially at the hot pot dinner, and just told them everything she did. She would have just laid it all out on the table, and then it'd have been like wiping the slate clean and everybody could move forward. Because I'm not saying that Katie is the worst housewife ever and that these women on this show are saints, because they're definitely not. Definitely not, okay? But the issue is Katie is the one that's in the hot seat right now, so she gonna get this work. Because you're new and you keep lying and keep getting caught. Also, this is why people keep screaming to production to stop employing fans, because you could tell last season that Katie was a fan. Like the way that she was on Heather about the paparazzi situation, the fact that she went the extra mile to contact someone that she said was a friend that was a part of the paparazzi. It was like, you don't know her, so why did you feel the need to do all of that? And I slightly do believe the publicist Amir, due to the way that Katie brought the paparazzi situation with Heather, when he said that, Katie was like, I have all this tea and I'm ready to spill it and things of that nature. It just feels like she really had this fantasy of how she was going to be portrayed and how her experience with Housewife was going to go, that she did not allow herself to actually be present in the moment of actually being on Housewife. Like, instead of you running with these narratives of what you have seen with these women, because I know that can be hard. Real Housewives of Orange County has been on for 19 seasons. You should have taken the opportunity to actually get to know these women personally and then gone from there. But it feels like she already had a game plan of how she was going to maneuver this situation, and she created so much chaos for herself that it's like, dang, girl, you probably would have been way more liked if you weren't constantly getting caught in lies. But that's all I got for you guys. As always, remember to be bravely authentic. Definitely hop down in them comments below and subscribe. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.